Ever since the Sebastian Aho offer sheet, Canada, the Hurricanes are going to be the Montreal Canadiens. But as of Tuesday night, Cana-D'OH, you are not, as they got shut out 4-0 and leaving Canada with 2 losses.
Your Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everyday for making this your first list of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin, the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers. Do some AHL content over at the Calder Times. Also the co-host of the Search Cast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. And gonna be talking about that 4-0 shutout loss to the Montreal Canadiens on Tuesday night to basically end a 2-game Canada road trip where they scored 0 out of 4 points and got outscored 10-3 in the process, and then get to hear from Rod Brind'Amour in the postgame. Well, obviously, all of my keys to the game, take advantage of the special teams, start early, get the building quiet, start 60 minutes and play 60 minutes of hockey, start on time. I mean, hey, the first few minutes looked good. A lot better than was against Toronto, but none of that happened. You lose 4-0 to a 500 club that's the Montreal Canadiens, who are trying to fight to get even relevant in a wild card hunt, and now you have lost 5 of your last 6 games. February has not been a good month for the Carolina Hurricanes. They've won 1 game this entire month. Started it with 3 straight losses, got the win against Utah before you went to your break, and then you just lost the last 2. And now your last game of the month is on Thursday against the Buffalo Sabres for a Whalers night. So there's an opportunity. If they don't win that game on Thursday, you are looking at a month where you get a total of 1 win. 1. After scoring a 10-win, 22-point month that was January. I mean, gotta give the team some credit, I guess. I mean, nothing you can do when the first couple of goals were deflections. The puck luck was there for Montreal. I mean, hey, the Hurricanes outscored the Canadiens in the second and the third period. Unfortunately, got outscored in the first, and that's kind of what put them in a deficit once again. Down 2-0. I mean, hey, at least they weren't down 4-0 early in the first period like they were against the Maple Leafs, but still lost 4-0 regardless. And special teams, I mean, there were some very, very weak calls. I know the Chatfield one was very weak. I don't know how they really call that a holding. It was just a tangle up that just went sideways, but Montreal capitalized. I mean, if you look at the special teams, the Hurricanes went 0 for 3. On their power plays, the Montreal Canadiens went 2 for 5. They scored 2 goals in the power play, and the number 1 best penalty kill in the league got scored on twice. Second one came from Nick Suzuki in the second period and Lane Hudson in the third. 21 block shots for the Canadiens, also, 21 giveaways. The Hurricanes had 15 giveaways, got out hit. Hurricanes barely won the faceoffs, 59-40. 20-18 shots. I mean, outshot 8-5 in the first, and then you outshoot them 6-2 in the second, and outshot them 9-8 in the third. You held the team to 2 shots that second period, and they still scored a goal on the power play. And here's the crazy part for this game, too. Hurricane stats, Brian, which I mean they're always a great, follow if you don't follow them on social media. Fantastic stuff as always when it comes to doing anything related to stats. That was the first regulation loss for the Carolina Hurricanes to the Montreal Canadiens since the Sebastian Aho offer sheet. The season before the Hurricanes got just bare cooked in the Emmy. The Hurricanes were on I think it was a 16-1-1 run. And that was that was the first regulation loss since the offer sheet. And you lose 4-0. I really don't know what to say other than, hey, Mikko Rantanen had a bunch of chances, hit some posts. He showed really good promise. He didn't get the puck luck. I mean, hey, Sebastian Aho hit a post as well on a power play. The Hurricanes really can't buy any puck luck right now. That's what's really holding them up is the fact that they're trying. You see them having the chances. It's just nothing's really going their way, and it's tough. It's tough when you watch the team to where you're coming out of the break, everyone's healthy, no one's sick. Some guys they did play at the Four Nations. And you go to Canada, you score 3 total goals in 2 games. It's just I don't know. It's just it's almost like get the laugh through the pain kind of, where it's just like what's happening. I know every team goes through their struggles, but this team feels so disjointed. Like Rod Brind'Amour said, pregame, try and figure out some lines, do something different, maybe spark something. Didn't really see it. You're going into the game thinking you have your normal 12-6 turns, and then last minute Tyson Jost after warm-ups is healthy scratched, and you go 11-7. And you let a Montreal Canadiens team who you should have beat you, and then a shutout fashion with Sam Montembeault in net, who played 0 games in the Four Nations. Sam Montembeault, in the middle of the 2-week stretch, practiced and sat on the bench while Canada won a gold. I mean, gotta give him credit. He's good. When he's on, he's on. But if you are a team that's looking to make some noise in the playoffs, figuring out if you're going to be, conservative buyers at the deadline, because you already made your big splash and Mikko Rantanen, you're looking at possibly getting some depth. That's not a game this is a game that doesn't help. It really doesn't, because now the Columbus Blue Jackets won. They beat Dallas. Now they're in the second wildcard spot, and they are now officially 6 points back of second place. And you have 24 games left in the regular season. I still fully believe the Hurricanes are a playoff team, but this is a very tough spot to be in. I mean, you've lost 5 of your last 6. You've got Whalers night on Thursday, and that's your last game of the month before you go into March, and you're looking at possibly one regulation win. February has not been a kind month for the Canes, that's for sure, outside of Utah. And it's just, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. And there's so much more I want to talk about. There's so much more I want to talk about this game, because it's like, what do you really say to this? So, you know what? Just stick around, guys, as I'll try to digest of what this happens, what's next for the Hurricanes. And, what did Jordan Staal say in the postgame? Because we're going to hear Rod Brind'Amour in segment 3, going over what he thought. But segment 2, we'll hear from Jordan. I'll talk about what Jordan Staal said and kind of break down what, I guess, the issue's been for the Hurricanes recently. So stick around as I go through that here on a Wednesday edition of Locked on Hurricanes. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other sites. Indeed spots your jobs, puts your posts at the top of the page, and help you reach the right candidates faster. Now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying that you heard about the Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed is all you need. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So, postgame. This was a quote from the captain, Jordan Staal. We're kind of hoping to outscore teams and hoping to outchance teams, playing that 50-50, we get more goals than them kind of thing. We've always been a club that defends well. We have slipped in that aspect of the game. Yeah, I would pretty much say that the defense as of late for the Hurricanes has not been good. They have left both their goaltenders out to dry multiple times. You are hoping that you're outscoring the other team, and here's the problem. You got to put the puck in net to outscore the other team. You scored 3 goals in 2 games. And you got to wait until the third period against the Maple Leafs, and you're already down 4-0 by that point. You lose 6-3 with 2 empty netters. And you go into Montreal with a team that's exactly 500, and you get shut out. I know you play the same system as them. Yes, they had a couple of deflections. Puck luck went their way, but I understand you're trying to get the forward core going because you're trying to get Taylor Hall rolling. You're trying to get Mikko Rantanen rolling. But honestly, though, it's very, very clear what the problem is for the Hurricanes right now is the defensive structure. It's just not there. The defensive pairs that have been stuck together all season is simply not working anymore. It's just simply not. Jacob Slavin's pretty much your most consistent, dominant defenseman. We saw that in the Four Nations. We've seen that in the Toronto game. We even saw in the Montreal game. He made a lot of great plays to stop a lot of chances for the Leafs and the Canadiens. You know, he even scored a goal against Toronto. Shane Gostisbehere scored a goal against Toronto. Him and Gostisbehere has been fine. Even Walker's been playing well. Heck, even Chaffield's been playing well. You can't even really fault him for the penalties because they were just kind of weak for the most part. And it took forever for the Hurricanes to even get a power play in this game. But that's here, near, or there at this point. Defensively, this team has to figure out the new structure. Because we all heard in the pregame, most spirited practice they had in a while. You know, the intensity was up, the feeling was up, and you go and lay a dud to Montreal. I'm great. I'm happy the vibes were high. I'm happy the team was, playing really well, doing really well in practice and getting ready for this game. Yeah, the puck luck wasn't there. Yeah, you hit the post a couple times. You had Montembeault making some huge saves. But you cannot leave your goalies out the door. You can't have that. You cannot play a loosey-goosey defense in the NHL. And I've been saying it all season. This is not your grandfather's NHL where you can go into a team's barn that stinks and you're automatically going to get 2 points. This is a league where every night you got to be on your game because anyone can beat anyone, and this is the no one's going to feel sorry for you league. Thank you to Chip Tracy for that. I thought that was really great. The fact that it's no one feels bad for you league because no one's going to feel bad for you. Every good team has lost to a bad team. The Avalanche have lost to the Blackhawks at least twice already this season. Every team loses to a bad team, but you have to go back to simplistic hockey. This isn't Hurricanes hockey. This team is built on structured defense that leads to the offense, and right now the defense outside of Slavin and maybe Gostisbehere, sometimes Chatfield, stone cold. Stone cold. Brent Burns is on pace for the worst point production season since he came to Carolina. He's at 61 points 2 seasons ago for the record. Finished with above 40 last year. This year, I don't even think he's going to sniff 35. And nothing against Brent Burns. I like the guy, but Father Time has caught him in a big way, and it is not helping anyone. I don't see Burns and Orlov coming back. I'm sorry. I just don't see them coming back at the end of the season or, starting next year. But for me, the defensive pairs are what needs to get changed. The forward core at this point, go back to what was working. Because obviously, when the offense is going, the offense is going. But it is very clear over the last few games, the defense has been a massive struggle. And it's getting to the point where it's just loosey-goosey, not playing Hurricanes hockey. There's no structure to what this – the Hurricanes are built on defensive structure, and it's not there. It's almost like instead of what you thought was like really high-grade wood that's good for structure, it's paper mache. This is a paper mache, paper tiger defensive structure that's helping no one. You get Peter Kachekov getting lit up against Toronto, and then you get Frederick Anderson getting lit up by Montreal. Montreal. Yes, there's a couple tick goals in the Montreal game. Maybe Pierre Kachekov could save the second goal of the Toronto game, but it doesn't matter at that point when you score 3 goals on 3 shots because the defense isn't there to stop them. This is not the structured, concrete, unpenetrable defense that the Hurricanes have had. This is a paper tiger, paper mache, slap it together with putty defense right now, and something that has to change. And I think something will change because Tim Gleason isn't happy with this. Tim Gleason is not going to be happy with this, and Rod Brind'Amour isn't happy with this. And some of the absolute takes I've read on Tuesday night, oh my absolute goodness. People need to chill. This team is still in a playoff spot. Yes, they've hit rush patches. Yeah, their road record is not great. 12-15-3 is beyond terrible for a team that is going to go for their 7th straight playoff appearance. You cannot be 12-15-3 on the road. And you got to win on the road in the playoffs. But just the takes of, like I said, just people need to chill out. They're going to be fine. They're going to figure it out. No Rod Brind'Amour team is just going to just let it just blow away in the wind and just kind of ruin what they're – plus, this was a season where this was a transition year, and they started off really well, and they're still in the playoff. They're still in a playoff spot. They're still a top 10 team in the East. They're a top 10 team in the NHL still. Yeah, they're struggling. Every team struggles. The Jets run a losing streak. Boston just got Boston by the Maple Leafs, which is crazy to think about. Good teams play bad this year. It just is what it is. Parity across the NHL has never been higher. But just, like I said, it's just, I understand the frustration. I understand it. But there's got to be a little bit more chill here when it comes to some of the takes I've seen. But for me, and I understand it, the defense, there's got to be some change here. I know Gleason and Rod are trying to figure out, okay, we need to do something here, but we don't want to really completely ruin the feng shui with 24 games left. But something has to give on the defense. Because right now, this is not a defense that you're kind of used to for the Carolina Hurricanes where they're just, they're still limiting shots, but the high danger chances are that much higher, and the teams are capitalizing on it. You should not be losing 4-0 to the Montreal Canadiens at home, at their barn. You should be winning that game. This is your first regulation loss since the offer sheet, and that was like 3 or 4 seasons ago. You own the Canadiens. You cannot be continuously playing from behind every single game recently. You've lost 5 of your last 6. You are now -6 in the goal differential in the first period, and somehow you're double digits in the second and the third. You're almost +13 in both. You're like at least +13 in both categories, in both periods. but you're -6 in the first. Stop falling behind. Get going early. Like I said, I'm still highly optimistic. It's a frustrating loss. Like I said, the defense needs to get figured out. I know this team is going to, right the ship. I'm still optimistic. This team's going to make the playoffs. Hopefully everything gets figured out, and it's just another rough patch. It's a weird year for the Hurricanes. It's a weird year, but they're giving us great wins when they do, and you're in a playoff spot despite the last 6 games have not gone your way. But it's all about sticking with the team and making and just having that optimistic mindset of, hey, stuff will figure itself out. They always do. It always gets figured out every year. It's just taking a little bit longer than usual because that's, a team that's led by Rod Brind'Amour figures it out. And you know what? We're going to hear from Rod Brind'Amour from his post-game press conference after the Montreal loss. So stick around as we'll listen to that here in a second on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Like I said, we're going to listen to the post-game press conference with Rod Brind'Amour to get his thoughts after the loss to the Montreal Canadiens. So without further ado, let's jump into that right now.
Tips and bounces there in the first, and penalty kill was strong. You kill up 5-on-3, but then allowing 2 on the power play. I mean, what's kind of been the storyline overall of 60 minutes tonight?
It's been a bit of the same story. So it's it's not that we're giving up a ton, but when we do, it just seem to find a way to, a couple weird bounces there to start, and then you're behind the 8 ball. And you got to give them credit. They didn't give us much. I mean, they were doing a nice job of defending, and when they got the lead. So, special teams have to be better. I mean, I did like the penalty kill tonight. I mean, they did a pretty good job. I mean, the last one's a floater in. That's, again, kind of a tough break. And like you said, the 5-on-3 did a hell of a job. And then, I didn't love that goal. We did the power play goes to Suzuki guys, kind of a, not a grade A opportunity, but listen, you got to find a way to score goals.
This team typically really prides itself on defense, and Jordan Staal was just talking about that being an obvious difference, specifically on the road. Is there anything that you've kind of noticed in that category?
I don't know. Yes and no. I mean, again, it was under 20 shots again tonight, so that's pretty good defense, right? Like, I mean, it was 11 till the last 7 minutes of the game or something. So, it's to me, it's right now where you look at our identity of our team, it's definitely changed in the last couple of weeks. We've kind of changed the way we play a little bit, and that's no knock on the guys we brought in. They're great players, but we have to remember how we play the game, and I think we've kind of changed a little bit and clearly not working.
You had a lot of ozone time in the first and early in the second, but you were not able to sustain it.
Yeah.
Which is different when you look at the talent that you guys have up front.
Yeah, I mean, I think Montreal did a nice job. I mean, they kept us, outside for the most part, and we weren't able to get too many shots through. I mean, both teams did pretty much the same thing. I mean, they just got a couple that went through and a couple bounces, and ours didn't happen to go. So that's kind of what the game in a nutshell. But I think we had still too many turnovers in areas where we're trying to make stuff happen where there's just nothing there. And that's kind of what's crept in our game here the last couple of weeks.
Thank you to Rod Brind'Amour and the Carolina Hurricanes, as always. And you heard it from him. It's, the guy gave credit to Montreal. They played the Hurricane system better than they did and limit their opportunities. And Rod said it. This team has really got off the identity of what they are as a structured team. They're changing things, and it's not going their way. And Jordan Staal said it perfectly earlier. They're not playing Hurricanes hockey. They're not playing simplistic hockey. They're not playing the system that's worked. They have tried to get, more 50-50. They're trying to think they can go and, just outscore teams every night. And that's just not their game. I'm sorry, they have the talent, but that talent is not built on a run and gun. We're going to outscore you. And the thing is, you have to score goals to outscore run and gun teams. The thing is, the Hurricanes are not that team. You are built on a two-way structured transitional game. And Rod said it. Defensively, they have gone off. They have slightly tweaked off script of what they're supposed to do. And it's very clear. That's just whatever this new thing they're doing is not working. And I guess I know they're going to figure it out. I'm very optimistic it's going to get done because this team always finds a way to get it done. But yes, it is very, very frustrating when you saw the start they had this season. And ever since mid-November, it's been a lot of up and down hockey. January was great because you got 10 wins out of 15 games. You finished with 22 points. And February has not been nice to you. And yes, I know it's that weird 2-week break in between, with the four nations, but luckily you have a lot more home games in March. Hopefully you can kind of figure it out. But right now, this is just a tough spot to be in. And you hopefully, like I said, you hope the Hurricanes kind of figure it out because right now they are 1 for 15 on the power play in the month of February alone. You are really free falling in terms of the power play percentage. It's been very tough. Like you're 22nd going into this game. Don't be surprised if you're 24th or 25th. It's tough. I mean, the Penguins came up a couple goals, but hey, they're still the number one penalty killing in the league. It's tough when you're only scoring 3 goals in a combined 2 games. So hopefully something gets figured out. I know they will. It's just, it's tough. It's tough to see. And like I said, hopefully the ship rights itself. They're 21-6-1 or 21-6-1 at home. Hopefully you get some home cooking. Hopefully you're back in your bed. Hopefully, you get that boost from just being at home and getting back to your routine. Hopefully, you get the crowd at Lenovo Center going after you. And you hope that this is a turnaround. Hopefully this is a players-only meeting, wake-up call like, hey, something's got to get done. Because something needs to. And I really hope they play well because I do not want – I'm hoping we don't hear boos. I know I really hope this team does not get booed off the ice. Especially because it's Whalers night. Or even, honestly, I don't care what night it is. I just hope we never see this team get booed off the ice. Because we've seen some bad Hurricanes hockey in the dark ages. I really don't want to see that right now with this team where they're in a playoff spot. Yeah, they're struggling, but I just don't think booing them will be the way to help these guys know that the fan. I know people are behind them, but it's just that's tough. I guess I'm not going to tell people how to fan. Not going to tell people how to cheer. I'm just saying I hope we just don't see that happen on Thursday night. So it's definitely going to be interesting for sure. Hopefully Wednesday's kind of a reset day for these guys, and hopefully if they do have a players only meeting, hopefully everything gets figured out. And I think it will. It's just right now it's a very tough stretch for the Carolina Hurricanes, but hopefully something does get figured out. But guys, that will be a Wednesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making your first listen of the day. For your second listen, why don't you go check out Locked On AHL podcast, bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matter with the local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On AHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to keep up with me, I'm at @OneTrueZach on X. The podcast is LO_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky at the Zachary Martin. I have link trees in both my bios where you can check my articles at thehockeywriters.com, covering everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. If you're looking for some AHL coverage, thecaldertimes.com. If you want to check out my other podcasts, well, it's the Searchcast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For this show, Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, it's Locked On Hurricanes. Follow, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating and review because I might just read it on the show. For YouTube, well, it's Locked On Hurricanes. Subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you don't miss the show. Hit the thumbs up to let me know if you like the show as well. Share it with all their Caniacs so they become everydayers just like you. But I hope everyone enjoyed this Wednesday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. Hope everyone has a wonderful Wednesday. And until next time, as always, let's go Cans.